Welcome to the No Filler Show. Filler means a substance used for filling cracks or holes in the surface, especially before painting it. That is the actual definition. In my show, I spell it Philler. My definition means we are not filling in cracks, we are not filling in holes or anything of that nature. Oh, my bad, I totally forgot. My name is Amina and I'm your host. Back to what I was saying, we are having honest conversations with each other, allowing all opinionated conversations to happen. As the host of this platform, I want to speak truth to power. In this podcast, people are allowed to be comfortable expressing themselves, speaking nothing but authenticity. Before we go any further, this podcast doesn't allow any hate. My ultimate goal is to interview any and everyone. I don't have a particular lane. I don't fit in any particular crowd. I want to reach any and everyone. Thank you, and stay tuned. Hey, welcome to the No Filler Show. I'm your host, Amina. Today I have Mike Africa, and we are talking about Move. We are talking about his experience in Move. We're talking about his rap music and his parents. Please stay tuned.
On the Move, this is Michael Africa Jr. with Amina chilling on the No Filler Show. We're going to get into these issues and educate the people.
Say that.
Decide that you don't want to do this anymore, guess what? When you cut that tie, you don't owe anyone anything, right? Unless it's some kind of small little thing that you agreed to.
So I'm guessing you're sticking with the independence and everything.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not against contracts. If I get a good one, I'm not against someone else promoting and marketing and all of that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm against someone else owning my stuff and they get rich off of it and I'm still poor. Okay. That's what I'm against. If you set up a contract with me and we're working on this thing together, mm-hmm. and I produce this album and it's great and I get rich and you get rich and we're both rich because we both did the work, I don't have a problem with that at all. What I have a problem with is Tribe Called Quest, Tip, #1 album in the country, and Q-Tip is sleeping on his mom's couch, while the owners of that company, mm-hmm. of that space is millionaires from it. Wow. The Supremes.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. The Supremes. They have so many #1 hits, more hits than the Temptations. And one of the Supremes died on welfare. Yeah. And that was a black company.
Now that we're more educated, do you think people make better decisions with contracts?
I think the people that are educated do. I mean, everybody's not educated, right? Let's face it. Like, you got people like Puff and Jigga that they know the business. They know mm-hmm. business. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily the business, but they know business. They know how to.
So they kind of applied that to the actual record business. And
they hustlers. They know how to do it, right? But then there's a lot of people who 10 years from now, we're going to be watching the
downfall.
Yeah, of different people. I mean, it may not be them, could be them, but it may not be them. But we'll be watching the downfall of somebody. We'll be watching. There's a TV show, a series or a episode of maybe it was a 30 for 30 or something that came on in ESPN, and it was called Broke.
Oh, athletes going broke.
Yeah. So like Allen Iverson is of this. He is one era before this one right now. Mm-hmm. Those people were educated or possibly had the potential to be educated, but I mean, you still see it happening.
Yeah.
You got Super Bowl winners selling their Super Bowl ring just the day after the Super Bowl just to pay their mortgage.
Yeah.
So like, when you come from a family or a place where you don't have much, and when you finally get something, sometimes it's hard to know how to like restrain yourself.
Yeah.
And
you don't know that.
Yeah.
But that's a given because people sometimes you just don't know.
You just don't know. I mean, you got people on that show, on that same show. There was a guy on there talking about how he got his paycheck from the NFL, and mm-hmm. they asked him, his check hadn't been cashed for a while. They called him and asked him why isn't his check cashed, and he said he framed it.
Oh wow.
And there was another guy who got his check for however many thousands or hundred thousands of dollars or whatever mm-hmm. it was, and he took it to a check cashing place to cash it. He never knew of a bank.
or direct deposit or
You see what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
so now there's a lot of people probably on that team that knows better than that, but he didn't.
Yeah.
So if if you are educated, then you should be able to make a better decision. The people who are not educated, they're not going to be able to make those kinds of decisions. The people who are pulling the strings are going to be able to just
keep doing what they've been doing,
Sure.
whatever. So let's just talk about your music. Just describe it.
hip hop. I love hip hop.
Okay.
I've been in love with hip hop ever since I can remember. LL Cool J. I need a beat. You know what I'm saying? When that came on, and it was just like I'm bad. That's when I started really like getting into it, and in the 80s like that, and
That's
Run
a little bit
DMC,
before my
Walk
time.
This Way. And,
Yeah. That's when but that's when hip hop became mainstream. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. That's when hip hop became mainstream, and I feel like that's when we kind of lost it in a way. But it's like you wanted to be mainstream so it could be recognized, but then it was a flip side to it.
When hip hop is like anything else, right? It has its goods and it has its bads, right? And the music itself and the quality of the music has enhanced. It's much better than it used to be, but the authenticity has changed. And then like there's differences too with like gangster rap. Once gangster rap came into play, that kind of changed
The game.
Yeah, it changed the direction that it was going in. And mumble rap is a different thing. Like it's a lot of different little variables in there. And I think gangster rap came in with NWA.
Yeah.
Fuck the Police was a statement to make a statement about something that was happening in the neighborhood. But if you listen to that song, actually Ice Cube was the only one who said anything that was like really on point.
Well, he wrote everything.
The other people were just kind of gangsters, like
Yeah.
thugs, hoodlums. But
Ice
Ice Cube actually
yeah.
was saying something about the system itself,
Yeah.
and their police and it being a problem. The other people were just
They were just there.
they were just gangsters,
Yeah.
like type thugs, like villains, as they called themselves. So that was something else too, and that was mixed with that was assumed to be gangster rap, but actually the actual song Fuck the Police was a political statement for that. But the rest of the album was something else.
Okay.
It was something else. So, but
So in this particular generation, I know it's a lot of mumble rap, but it's also people that are actually saying stuff.
Sure, Chance the Rapper.
Yeah, he's an independent artist.
Kendrick. Yeah, I mean, like there's a lot of performers out there that are doing a lot of things, like especially like here in the city.
Oh yeah.
In Philly,
Yeah.
like Philly is like there's the authenticity of Philly is like there's this brother 100 Keys. 100 Keys spits fire. He got a John. Don't it feel good to be black?
Okay.
And it's just like it's hot. It's right. It's truthful. You know what I'm saying? And it's energetic. And like that's the kind of rap that I like.
I think a lot. I interviewed a Philly rapper probably like a couple weeks ago. A lot. I know with Philly rappers, a lot of them, they're like gangster rappers or whatever, and then some of them were more conscious or whatever like that. But whenever I hear it, I can feel it. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to hear a song not to be entertained, but also just to feel it in my bones. Like
Yeah.
and I feel like that. I might be a little biased because I'm from here, but I really feel like that with Philly rappers because they just straight raw. Like they just seriously.
They
like,
got the best rappers.
I really feel that way. No,
We got
really.
the best of a lot of things. I mean, I might be biased too, just because I'm from here too. But like,
Yeah.
we, Philly.
I honestly feel that way. Like,
I might be biased because I'm from here, but yeah, I feel
Yeah.
you. But yeah, and as a Move member,
okay.
rap is different for me
Okay.
because I have to look for the message. If the message ain't right,
then it's not happening.
yeah, like when I first started listening to like, because my grandmother, I was raised by my grandma. She did not like rap music.
Yeah, like
You know, you turn on
most
the
older
Temptations, some
women.
Stevie Wonder, you turn on some Luther Vandross, she good, right? But if you turn on some, I remember the first rap song she started actually being able to tolerate.
Which was?
It was Rob Bass, It Takes Two.
Oh, okay. That's like an entertainment song. That's like a dancing.
She was all right with that one. But when we tried to throw on Run DMC, da-na-na-na, she was like, turn that mess off.
Oh, that's
She
actually
didn't-
wasn't that bad
she
though.
didn't- But she was 60 years old. She didn't want to hear that.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't have any. And when I went back to listen to that song, Walk This Way, it's actually not a very good song. It's a very bad song. The lyrics in it, they're terrible. I mean, not terrible like they're not good lyrics,
Yeah.
but terrible because of the message.
Yeah, what they saying.
Really? Like that's not chivalry. Like, don't do that. But you know,
It was
it was hot at the time.
entertaining.
Yeah.
So I guess all right. So let's talk about Move.
Yeah.
Describe it in your own conscience. Describe what it means and what it means to you.
Well, what it means to me is probably different than what it means to like the rest of the world, right? I mean, Move to me is everything.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's it's my heart. Like that's every. I mean, I was born.
It's embedded in you.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get it out of me if I tried, if I wanted to, you know. But the Move organization is an organization founded by John Africa.
Okay.
John Africa is a wise, strategic-minded man, and he saw the injustices in life, and he saw that was happening with the justice, quote-unquote, justice system. He saw the things that was happening to life by industry and the pollution and the animal abuse and
Just everything.
yeah, so he wanted to do something about it. So he would start talking to people about it and talk about how to how to fix the problem. And as he started talking to people, more and more people came around and wanted to hear what he had to say.
Started enjoying them and
Yeah, and that gathering evolved into becoming an organization. And the reason it's called Move is because our religion, our belief is life. And there is no life without movement. And movement is what creates life. So that's why it's called Move.
what is your affiliation with Move?
I'm a second generation Move member.
Whoa.
I'm an original second generation authentic Move member. I was born into the organization. Some people came into the organization. Some people were married into the organization.
That's like being part of. It's like a family, pretty much. It's like
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
For sure. So like you have some people that were married in, and they're just as authentic, you know, in
But you
their
were born into
positioning.
it.
But I personally was actually born in the organization. So I'm a second generation Move member. There's a lot of us. I'm not the only one. You know, like I'm
Well,
not,
yeah, I
I'm
know
not a
that.
unicorn. I'm not the only second generation Move member. It's just I am one of them though. Yeah.
Okay. What did you understand the Move agenda to be? At what point did you come to that understanding?
Well, originally growing up in Move,
Okay.
my original thought and what I actually felt like was Move's purpose, I used to think that Move's purpose was to just stop the cops from beating us up. You know, stop the cops from hurting people. Stop the cops from, you know, messing with people. That's what I thought our purpose was. Just because that's what I saw. We don't have a classroom that says this is what Move does and Move. You know, you learn as you go. And at some point you get involved in what we have our study sessions, and but that comes later. You know, it's like when you go to school in the system, you go to school at 5 years old?
5 or 6, yeah.
Right. But there's a lot of stuff that you're faced
Learning.
with before that. You know, you see stop signs before you go to school. You don't necessarily have to know what that word says. So that's how it was. It was like before we actually started getting taught what Move is, we saw with our own eyes police and people get beat up and, you know, courts and jail and all that kind of stuff. So I thought Move was just stop the police from beating us up, stop the police from jailing people, stop the police.
So, John Africa, do you think he spoke about the future, like what we're going through right now? I feel like for me, I always think it's just a over and over cycle of it's just different decades or different years. It's the same thing every single year.
Yeah, like John Africa was definitely very much so before his time. A lot of the things that he talked about in the 70s would have been future
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, he made a statement. He said, man's attempt to destroy life, he will mutate himself into something that is unrecognizable, but he will not destroy life. And I think that at the time that he said that, even now you recognize man. But the fact that he said that back in 1970, whatever, I think that's a statement that has a lot of foresight.
A lot of knowledge behind it, especially.
Yeah. So John Africa definitely spoke to things that are coming to in the future, and I don't think it was like a psychic type of thing.
It was just.
It was a knowledge of where we are now and where we came from. Like, mutations happen when you have certain situations, right? If you're drinking poisonous water, you're going to be poisoned by the water, by the poison in the water. And mutations can come of that. You can, there's all kinds of things that can happen as a result of that. And man is definitely on a mission to destroy life. I mean,
we're getting close.
Think about this. We're in Philadelphia right now.
Right.
In Philadelphia, there are rivers and streams all over.
Correct.
Right? Water. The most essential thing to life. There's water everywhere.
Well, you got to pay for it, right?
But you can't drink it.
Oh.
You can't drink it. That's tragic.
Yeah.
There's land everywhere, but where's the food? The food should be growing through the land, not covered by concrete. Also, people should be able to recognize it. So there's all these different things that's happening that's compounded over time, because people look at the river, the Schuylkill River, and they see that it looks like oil.
Yeah. It's
but
not clear,
people
it's
that's
not
never
clean.
saw the water clear would think that that's the way it's supposed to look.
Yeah.
But it's not. Water is supposed to be clear.
Yeah.
Right. So
I know that.
That's the kind of so that's what John Africa would say. Like,
right.
So speaking to his ability to see what's coming is based on his understanding of what was and how it got this way.
We're gonna talk about your parents. How old were
Okay.
you when your parents were incarcerated?
When my parents were incarcerated, I was 0 years old, 0 days old, 0 minutes, 0 seconds old. I was not born when they were arrested. When my parents got arrested, I was my mom was pregnant with me, and she later had me in a prison cell a few weeks later. So I wasn't
Even around.
Wasn't even here yet.
You were around, but you weren't around.
Right. Yeah.
You said your grandmother raised you. How did how did she inform you and to everything that just was going on? Like, how did she explain it to you? Like you said before, you know stuff before you get to a certain age. How did she inform you or explain it to you?
Actually, she didn't. My grandmother didn't explain a lot to me when it came to my parents and how they were in prison. I learned a lot of that when I was a teenager.
Oh, okay. Is that on your own research or just her just allowing you just to be a kid and just whatever?
So, I was born in Move, but I wasn't always in Move.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
So my grandmother, when she used to be in the organization, and there was a certain point when she left the organization and was no longer affiliated fully. And when that happened, I was living with her, and she took me with her. So for a few years,
you were just out of the loop, pretty much.
I went to school and all of that kind of stuff. So she didn't. When I would ask her questions like, "Why is my mom and dad in jail?" she would say things like, "Because the police raided the house."
Oh, never getting full detail.
She never give me any full details. I mean, how can you explain to a 7-year-old,
right?
The politics, right? How can you explain to a 7-year-old the gentrification that Drexel was trying to bring into center cities so that created, right? So how do you do that with a 7-year-old? So no,
Doing it now,
she didn't
I'll tell you
explain.
that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now it's real. It was real then, but it's just it's
Definitely.
even more crystallized now. But so she didn't explain that stuff to me. I started learning that when
As you got older.
Ramona Africa came out of prison after that 7 years that she did for them bombing her.
Correct.
I asked her, would she come? I mean, I knew Move people. I asked her, would she come? I had my mom, who was in prison, with her. Ask her if she would come and get me and bring me back with her.
Wow.
And she said yes.
And she explained everything to you, like
She didn't explain anything at the time.
Okay.
What happened was, I think she assumed that I already knew.
Oh.
So she would go and do speaking engagements, and she would speak in public, and I would be with her often. So while the audience was learning the story, so was
learning.
I.
Wow, that's interesting.
So much of what I learned from her indirectly, her just giving her speech to
just
an
talking
audience.
about it to other people.
That's how I learned what Move was really about. That's how I learned what my parents were in prison for. That's how I learned about May 13th, the bombing. I knew certain things about it, but I didn't understand any details of it. I didn't know who was in the house.
So after learning that, how did it make you feel? Just when you came, I guess, to that realization, like, damn, this really happened.
It took me probably 20 years to not hear any other variations of that same story.
What are the other variations then?
There's a lot of. Everyone has
Or it's like
70% of the same. When I say everyone, I mean Pam Africa, Ramona Africa,
okay.
Sue Africa.
I'm thinking like
Michael
outside
Africa.
people that were
And
outside.
outside people too.
Oh, okay.
You know, supporters who are very close to the family.
Okay.
Everyone has the same 70% of the information, and then they all have their own 30% of information from their vantage point.
Your own point of view.
So you know, you never. It took probably 20 years for me to get those different vantage points, those different insights.
Everybody's. Wow.
Probably, and I'm sure that if I talk to other people, there will be more.
Something different, right?
But just from the core people that I was always around, the core 50 people, that took about 20 years, and it probably took another 10 years to really come to grips with what actually happened.
Wow. That's I guess it's before my time anyway, but just the stories that I hear too, it's just like they really did it to a family inside of a city. Kids were there, like women, it's just people, you know what I'm saying? And it's just a lot to take in.
Well, you know, the system is protective of industry. And Move is threatening their industry, and they know it. And we're threatening their industry by putting out information about life and how you don't really need this system to actually function.
Yeah, I always think everything's a business, no matter what it is.
Of course.
Everything's a business.
And like if you want to have a baby and you go to their doctors and their hospitals and get their medicines and all of that kind of stuff, and they make a lot of money off of people having babies every day.
Oh, yeah.
Every day, all day long.
I work at a hospital.
Right? But now if someone was to tell that industry, the people who's running that's making all of that money every day, all day, if somebody was to say, well, actually you can get the same result from that just by exercising.
And
The doctor doesn't have the ability to make you have a baby. They can do things artificially and scientifically, but the process itself is a natural occurrence that doctor doesn't have anything to do with. You can have a baby on your own. You can have a baby, and so John Africa would say that. And that's what women started doing. They started having their babies at home.
They're actually starting to get back to that.
Yeah. John Africa, Move women were having their babies
anyway
in the 70s
okay.
at home. Without doctors, without midwives, without medicines, without
just having them.
And so, you know, that's an industry that's losing a lot of money. And pharmaceuticals that people take and get hooked on, and then they need a side effect pill to combat that side effect and this, that, and the other. John Africa was saying this information, and it was threatening a lot of those industries. That wasn't the only one. The animal industry, where the zoos are taking animals from different places, the countries all across the world, and bringing them and putting them in cages. Cheetahs that naturally run hundreds of miles in a week are confined to a cage where they can't run 1 mile in their life.
Yeah.
And he talked about that stuff. So that threatened the industry of these zoos, and they make a lot of money. So that's why they came after us like they did.
I think 'cause he pretty much was educating everybody. And,
Sure.
That's one thing I can say about this particular country and any other country. People they want to limit your views and limit the things that you know.
Yeah, they don't want people that are actually free thinkers. They want obedient workers.
Yeah. People
that are just gonna go along with their program. If you when people start getting indoctrinated with the system's program, when they're 5 years old and they're in school, and those government agents called school teachers are saying things to them like, you can be whatever you want to be when you grow up. What do you want to be when you grow up? And them kids say, I want to be a policeman. I want to be a fireman. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a school teacher. I want to be, and come on. Imagine one of them kids saying, I just want to be free.
Yeah.
Freedom don't make no money.
Yeah.
And nobody strives to be free and make that a living. So what do teachers say if somebody was to say something like that? That's not something you can be.
Yeah.
You can't make money doing it.
They would probably try to change the answer, to be honest. Or
they would try to change their answer because their answer doesn't fit the mold that they have created within their curriculum. And that curriculum is specifically designed to make people obedient workers. They give you you got the choice to be whatever you want. You can be whatever you want to be, as long as you choose between these things that we have laid out for you.
Yeah.
You can choose whatever you want. Whatever color, clothes, be who you want to be. You want to be goth, you want to be hip, you want to be hip hop, you want to be reggae, you want to be whatever. As long as you pick one of these that we have, you're free. It doesn't make any sense. We're not free. We're put in a box that they decided where, when, how, whatever. And we're incubated and grown within their system and trained
to keep
their system afloat and functioning. Meanwhile, the things that we need, they're not giving us any
of it.
So John Africa's like, nah, we're going to do this. We're going to do it a different way. So, the whole thing about industry, air pollution and water pollution and what they're doing to the land and all of that oil drilling and all of that stuff is unnecessary. You can get energy without drilling into the earth and destroying the nutrients and the value of the earth.
I always think about that. I was just like, well, what were they doing 200 years plus before or 300 years before? Like, people were still surviving and thriving and just living.
And healthier.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
The diseases that exist now didn't exist then.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, things did exist and things did happen.
But they were like natural.
It wasn't like what you got now. You don't have more hospitals now because you got more people. You got more hospitals because you got more sickness. Mm-hmm. And so that's John Africa's teaching. That the industry, the system is the problem. You go, but now see, if you go into the jungle where animals live, you ain't gonna find no jails. You ain't gonna find no hospitals because the animals in those places, they don't believe in that stuff. But they will have people thinking that humanity is more advanced and smarter than those animals. Those animals are wild and dirty and dumb, and people are intelligent. But if you look at the way they live, you ain't going to find the things that you find in humanity now, the problems. You ain't going to find this stuff. Not one prison. You ain't going to find one prison. Not in the ocean where the whales live. Not in the jungles where the cheetahs run. Not in the trees where the monkeys swing from.
Yeah. Because
those animals, they don't believe in prison.
They just free.
But in this society with people, that's all you see.
Yeah.
And if it ain't a prison that's a SCI, state correctional institution, it's the prison of their job or the prison of their relationship or the prison of the, you know what I mean?
It could be anything.
Everywhere you turn around, it's a prison with this system. Nobody's free.
You never think about it like that. That's actually a really interesting take on it. So how is Move active today in this present time? And also, how would you respond to the racism and the bigotry that we now face?
Racism and bigotry is just like it was before. I mean, I mean,
what
look,
a question.
so I mean, people love Obama, right? Black people love Obama, right? And I don't really talk a whole lot about Obama because people go crazy.
You about to start
They
some
can't
stuff?
But I mean, Obama dropped more bombs than any president.
You about to start some stuff?
It's true. It's true, right? So like, I can't help the truth. The truth is the truth. So as chairman of the Uhuru movement, Omala Yeshitela says, he says, you could be tricked by a person in a black face, and you could be tricked by a person in an orange face.
We are being tricked with somebody in our orange face.
So, I mean, the bigotry, the racism, look, when you see people that are racist and they spout this stuff and Trump emboldens them because of his ways and his arrogance and his, all of this stuff with him. But he's not bringing out anything that wasn't there.
Already there, yeah.
I actually like the fact that he's bringing it out because you can't hide this stuff.
He's honest. I'll say that.
He's arrogant. So like, when you think about the South and the hanging of black people, right? Mm-hmm. And the children that went to this thing, this adventure, this event.
To watch it.
This festive event, to watch it. Mm-hmm. And those people are on the cover of Time magazine and Life magazine, and they're kids at the time. Mm-hmm. Those kids of that time are now 60, 70 years old.
Business owners, industry leaders, so owners of whatever.
The racism that exists is ingrained in them long before they become a policeman and is shooting black people down in the street. That racism is embedded in them long before they went to school to practice racism with their other racist friends. Mm-hmm. It's long before that. That stuff is done when they're in their crib sucking on bottles. So, it's like when they say, well, we're going to do some sensitivity training for these police who sodomized Abner Louima. We're going to do sensitivity training so that they understand that you can't do that. If they can't understand that you don't plunge a nightstick up a man's rectum, if they can't understand that, you are not going to give them any weeks of sensitivity training that's going to make them understand that. Like, when you go on a trip and you take a ride and you drive for 20 miles in the wrong direction, to get back to where you are supposed to be, it takes 3 times longer. Because first of all, you got to turn around and go back the 20 miles you went wrong. Mm-hmm. Then you got to catch up the 20 miles that you
wasted. And
then you also got the 20 miles worth of time that you missed. Mm-hmm. So these people cannot have sensitivity training for a few weeks.
Yeah.
When you're talking about people that are 20 and 30 years old,
it's been ingrained
who's been getting that ingrained in them
for years,
all their lives. Mm-hmm. And not only that, but also within a country that is systematically racist. Mm-hmm. Because the country itself is systematically racist and geared toward supporting the white race and the people and ignoring and putting us down. So the door is open for white people. So there's work that has to be done, and there's not like a thing where they don't have to do anything. They just got it made, not all the time, but sometimes. But still, the people that are doing these things, these horrible things, these police, they are not going to solve their issue of racism by having other racist people give them sensitivity training.
Yeah.
Not in this country. You know where I'm from, how people deal with people who do things like that. If you hit me, I'm gonna hit you back.
Yeah.
Now,
Y'all
if
can
you
see my
think
face.
if you think that it is okay and justice to rape a man with a nightstick,
That's just pure hate and evil.
so then if you think that that's something that's acceptable behavior, you should also feel that it should be done to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that if people dealt with these politicians and these police with the same lack of respect and lack of regard for them, the way that the police and the politicians have a lack of respect for civilians, I think those police and those politicians would have a much more sensitive way of dealing with people. Because they won't feel at liberty to do the things to people, because you ask a group of white people, a group of racist white police, you want to trade places with these black people? They ain't gonna want to do it,
Yeah.
because they know what they do to those people, unchecked.
I actually saw something, or I watched a video. I forgot this lady's name. She's an older white woman, and I think her name's like Jane something. And she did like had a conversation at like a college hall or whatever. It's like early 90s. She says, so you see what's going on to people, black people particularly, and you don't want to trade places with them because you know it's wrong and you know it's bad, and you don't want it to happen to you.
Yeah, that was an experiment that she conducted where
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
she said she said black people are not treated fairly equal,
Right,
and they
right.
were saying, oh, they are, they get benefits and they have affirmative action, and they started raising this thing like no, that's not accurate information. So after she allowed them to go through this
Experience.
then she said,
So,
how many people here want to trade places with a black person?
Nobody.
Nobody raised their hands. But I bet you a lot of black people would say I'll trade places with white people, because it ain't the skin that they want to
It's
lose.
the treatment. It's
Yeah.
probably the
It's
opportunities.
when you there's other experiments that they conduct where they have a circle, or where they have like a race, right? A head start race, and all of the people line up, and they say, if your mother went to college, step forward, and you see the people move, and if your father went to college, step forward, and if your parents make six figures, step forward, and if you had a car when you were in high school, step forward. If you've been on vacation, step forward.
The numbers
if you have
start
a
getting
passport.
smaller.
So when you
started to see the people that were
right
ahead.
They did that experiment with me when I was about a year ago, and with me and a group of people. And you see all of these people advancing and walking forward, and you're standing there like, both your parents make six figures? Like, how do you
do that?
You can't even
Imagine.
fathom that kind of privilege. And that's what they have. That's what many of them have. But for us, it ain't the same. Our parents could have went to those schools and made the same figures, and we still don't have the privilege that they have, because this is a white country.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
This is the only race of people that can slaughter another race completely and then just take over.
Yeah.
Just take over. It's ours now. When my grandmother was in Georgia, remember the movie Rosewood? My family came up from that incident, partially that incident. That's when they came up.
They were escaping it pretty
Right.
much. Okay.
And they had 200 and something acres in Georgia. And these people came to their house, knocked on the door, and said two words: "Get off. Get off the land. Just leave." She got a brother that she looked for till the day she died. My grandmother did. a brother that she looked for when they were teenagers to the day she died, kept looking for that man. You know, like, you know, it's a lot of horrible things that goes on.
Yeah. To this day.
Absolutely.
To this day. I think it's in a different way.
Well, yeah, it's in a different way. It's like nowadays, instead of killing people with nooses, they just shoot you, and they also, you know, pervert your music so that you can kill yourself.
Yeah.
Have people walking around thinking gangster rap is the way to do things. That's the way of music. That's true hip hop.
Yeah.
So now people want to run around with guns, kill each other.
Yeah.
That's part of it. Definitely part of it.
It's like a system.
It's a system.
Everything is a system.
So yeah, I mean.
Wow. All right. So with that being said, there's a conversation about reparations about 2 weeks ago. I guess they're finally discussing it. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's possible? What would you consider reparations for you as an individual?
Well, I think that people need to look at the word reparations first.
Okay.
The word reparation comes from the word repair. Mm-hmm. Is there a way to repair this? Can you give me a certain amount of money to repair this?
400 years.
Can you give me if you gave me $1 million for every year that slavery existed? Does that change? Does that repair?
No.
You know what I mean? Like, really? You want to buy me off? So I think that has to be understood going into it. Mm-hmm. Do I think that people should be paid for the work that their ancestors did? Sure, but that's not the real issue. The real issue is they were made slaves. Mm-hmm. So and we're in a country that like committed genocide
on its own people.
It's like it's more to me. It's more like get off. That's more what it's like to me. My grandmother was Native. Seminole Indians from Florida. Mm-hmm. Cherokee Indians from Georgia. Iroquois Indians from up north. You know what I'm saying? Like, get off.
Yeah, it all ties together.
Is that too much to ask for the people who are from here originally? Is that too much to ask? You done came here, you done polluted our place, you done raped our women, genocidally murdered our people, drill the oil out of our land, pollute the earth so we can't even grow food here anymore, slaughtering the buffalo so that we can't eat in the winter. Like, get off. That's reparations to me. Take how William Wallace said in Braveheart, lower your flags and march straight back to England, stopping at every home that you pass and begging for 400 years of theft, rape, and murder.
Child, you talking today.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
You don't have to clean up your mess.
Yeah.
Just get out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm saying it's hard like this because
that's what it is.
It is. I mean, like, think about it.
Straight. No chaser.
The parole board had my mother and my father in prison 10 years past their minimum because they said they didn't have any remorse. Right? Mm-hmm. Now, here the parole board is working for a system, a government, a entity that they're connected to that dropped a bomb on our family and killed 11 people. But they want to say we don't have any remorse? We don't have any remorse?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like the parole board says that you can't have parole. You're 10 years past your minimum. You've spent 40 years in prison. Mm-hmm. So you know, okay, but you don't want to give people parole because you say they're a threat to the community. A threat to the community.
Yeah.
You got people in the White House that have meetings every Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. on who to kill. I'm not making it up.
I didn't know that.
Every Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. in the White House, they have meetings on who is their next target for elimination.
Wow.
And you know who it be that they target? Black and brown people. That's why I have a problem with Obama. Obama wants to take out every whoever, right? All these people. But you know what? Obama went after Libya and Egypt and Iran and Iraq and all these black and brown places. You ain't never going to see Trump bomb Germany or Ireland or France or Spain or Netherlands. Mm-hmm. He ain't going to do that. It ain't going to happen. You know, he'll build that border wall before he do that. And he ain't going to do that.
You think he is?
He don't think he is. He's just talking. Trump.
He is a fool, like straight up. Straight up. Like something really wrong with that man.
He is the most entertaining president I've ever seen.
He's
Crooked Hillary and Lying Ted. That campaign was funny. I never watched the campaign trail or any of that stuff. Never. I don't ever get into politics like that. I just get enough information from it to be able to speak on it. But I don't follow it because I'm not into it like that. Right. I don't think
it makes a difference.
I don't think that it helps me.
Anyway. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But man, when he was talking about Crooked Hillary and Lying Ted, that was some entertaining stuff right there. And it was true. It was true.
Well, we talked about that. Yeah.
Ted is crooked and Hillary was crooked and Ted was a liar.
Yeah.
You know, Trump's a liar too, but you know he don't care.
Yeah.
He said, "I don't care about offending people. You should know that."
So, all right, let's talk about I guess the feeling you got when you found out your parents were being released. Like, what was that for you? Just knowing, like, all right, it's really happening.
When I first heard that my parents was going to get released, it was like you can't believe it, right? And then you don't believe it.
It's kind of like, are you really? But wait a minute, is it something else that's going to happen, or?
I don't believe it until she's in the car. That was my thing.
Okay.
I mean, like
that you could feel it.
Yeah,
like
like
she's
it's
outside.
Right. Is something going to happen where an incident happens in the prison and they find a way to keep her?
A reason, right?
You know, like I don't believe it until she's in the car. When I walked up to the prison, my friend Tommy Oliver, he's working on a film for this. He was with me, and my wife was with me, and a few other people was with me, and we were walking to the prison to actually go and get her. Mm-hmm. And there's these patrol vehicles that pulls up around, and they're like, you can't have cameras here. You can't record this. So I'm like, okay,
cool, right?
Put the camera down.
Right.
You know, okay.
Give them a reason to whatever.
No reasons.
Right.
But as it's happening, I'm wondering to myself, are they going to try to use this as an excuse to keep her?
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like
That's always in the back of your mind, though, I guess. That the whole time it was in the back of your mind.
Until she's in the car. Because once she's in the car,
it's just that they can do like
coming prior from my dead, lifeless hands. You know what I'm saying? Like you ain't getting her back. But so yeah, it was scary. It was scary the whole time till she got in the car. Then it was like, oh, I can relax. And it was the same way for my dad.
Same way.
Yep, same way. It was the same way for the other people. When Janet got out and Janine got out, it was like, I ain't satisfied until I see a picture of them in street clothes at Walmart. You know what I mean?
Living everyday life.
Somewhere, yeah.
How, I guess from your view, how has everybody been adjusting?
It's a big adjustment.
Well, yeah, it's different. It's a whole different time. And
different world, yeah. I mean, when they went to prison, like, supermarkets didn't exist like they exist now. Like the superstores.
Like Targets and Walmart.
Yeah, they didn't exist. Like you had supermarkets, but
these are like major
like
stores.
Home Depot didn't exist. They didn't,
Oh.
That didn't exist for your cell phones wasn't out there like that.
I don't think they had cell phones back then.
Cell phones were first debuted in 1978, but they were for like testing and all of that kind of stuff. It wasn't like no one had one.
Like nothing a handheld or
you don't,
Not
and
what
even
it
when
is
they
now.
did, it was like a giant thing that you had like on the side of your head, and like you took 2 hands to hold because it was heavy, and it had another pack that went in the trunk of your car.
Yeah,
and
that's
all.
before my time.
It was, it looked like a VCR. Yeah, you remember the car phones? The car phones had a thing, and it had a battery pack that looked like a VCR that sat in the back of the trunk because you couldn't fit it in the car. It was too big. I mean, it wasn't, but you didn't want this thing in your car like that. So
Yeah.
you put it in the trunk. When you want to make a phone call, you got to pull the car over, get out of the car, lift the trunk, push the button to turn the thing
That's
on,
madness.
wait for it to power for a second, and then make your phone call, and it costs you like 20 cents a minute or 20, no, it was more than that. It was some crazy, like outrageous like amount of money that it cost.
It's madness. Okay.
So they didn't see the transition of cell phone or like beepers.
to phones,
Yeah,
cell phones.
like they never saw. They didn't see CDs.
Right. Now we don't even have CDs.
We don't even use CDs anymore.
Yeah.
There's a whole era that there's like 4 eras that they missed.
No cassettes, no CDs.
Nope. Mini discs,
Nothing.
laser discs. All that's over.
Yeah.
So an iPhone to them is like things that didn't exist.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like my mom went to the bathroom and she went to wash her hands, and she's looking for the faucet for the knobs.
And then you could
Ain't
just
no
like
knobs. Ain't no knobs.
it's like a little red dot that comes with like a motion sensor.
Right. She told me, she said she felt like she went from the Flintstones to the Jetsons. And we're doing a lot of things together for the first time too. Like,
How was that for you?
it's weird because like my mom is 62, my dad's 63.
Okay.
They live with me,
Okay.
and they're the parents, but
Also grandparents.
it's like I'm the parent though, because
you're
they don't
kinda-
know.
right.
They have to be taught this stuff. It's like learning to walk again, and that's a little weird.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's good for me.
Yeah.
But if you're the parent and you're used to being the one telling the kids what to do, and now you have to be told what to do all the time, it's great for me.
Yeah. We could spend time. And
But
all
if my
that.
kiid had to tell me what to do all the time, I would get tired of that kind
You
of
like,
quick.
listen.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, like I don't really. They handle it well, but we're doing like, I saw my mom's feet for the first time.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's interesting that you say that because people wouldn't think about that like, oh, like it's just like any ordinary thing. Like, but since your parents were incarcerated,
Right. I never saw her feet.
that's
She always had shoes on.
yeah,
You can't take your shoes off in prison. Not when you're on a visit.
right.
So yeah, I was sitting outside of her room. I built this it's a hope chest that I built, and it sits outside in the hallway before the bathroom, and in front of her bedroom. So as she came out I was sitting on it one day. I think I was getting dressed for work or something. I was putting my shoes on, and she came out of her room, and I looked down and I saw that she was barefoot. And when I looked at her feet, I realized that I had never seen them before.
Like dawned on you.
Yeah, because I would remember what they looked like, but I
Right.
didn't. So I knew. And I told my friend Bobby about it. And he said, wow, he said, you're learning at 40 years old what babies learn about their mothers.
Yeah.
So it was like, and that kind of thing is happening a lot. I never saw what they looked like in street clothes. Everything was in prison clothes, brown uniforms. So I don't really recognize them all the time. And they sound different too. They don't realize how much stress and how tense they are when they're on the visits or on the phone, making a phone call home. But you hear that. I didn't realize it either until
They're in a different environment.
they were in a different environment, and then their voices completely changed.
It's calm, more relaxed.
It was them.
Okay.
Before, they were trying to be on their best behavior. You don't get but 15 minutes phone call.
Somebody's always listening.
Well, you want to be on your best behavior because you want your son, who doesn't really know you, to get the best view of you.
Right.
So you're a certain way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You don't get but a 15-minute phone call, and it cuts itself off after 15 minutes.
Okay.
So, you know, that's what I always saw. But once they got home and they were able to like kind of chill for a minute, let themselves relax, and they're different.
Yeah. Well, all right. Thanks for meeting with me. After
Sure. Third time's a charm, like you said, right? Yeah. Took a minute.
No, it worked out though. It worked out. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
Everybody, this is Mike Africa.
This is Mike Africa Jr. from the Move organization. Look out for my I don't know if I'm gonna do an album yet, but I got a song called "Never Give Up." I'll let you hear it.
Okay.
And the other one is called "Time to Rise." Those are the ones that we're going to focus on and do a video for and all that kind of stuff.
Where can we follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram, Mike Africa Jr. You
Okay.
can follow me on Facebook, Mike Africa Jr. You can follow me on Twitter, Mike Africa Jr. Email mikeafricajr@gmail.com. I try to keep it consistent so that people don't forget.
Yeah.
It's easy.
That's smart.
And SoundCloud, you want to listen to some of my music, Mike Africa Jr.
Okay.
Soon to be on iTunes.
Okay.
Soon
Yeah.
to be on iTunes.
All right. What he said. All right.